Welcome back. Good morning. Still watching Daybreak on this 24th day of February 2026. In studio, I have Diana Gishengo, the Executive Director from the Institute of Social Accountability, and Sheila Olang, who is a development economist. We're still expecting Kitoko Mukunji. Until he comes, we'll keep saying it because we're expecting him. Apologies from Senator Hilary Sigei, who is voiceless this morning. So we're talking about the decision between the county government of Nairobi and President William Ruto leading the national government to come together to sign that cooperation agreement that is being subjected to public participation post the signing. And at the same time, if you had to look at the structure, two levels of governance. There is the steering committee, and then there is the implementation committee or the implementing committee. So the steering committee is chaired by the Prime Cabinet Secretary, who is also the Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary, Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary, Prime Cabinet Secretary, Nairobi Chairman. And then the Vice Chairman of Nairobi Steering Committee is the Governor himself, Governor Johnson Sakaja. The membership of that steering committee has 7 other CSAs and Attorney General at the national level. Then you have the county attorney from Nairobi County Government, and then you have 2 representatives to be identified by the governor. So far, not stated who they are. Then you have the second level, the implementing committee, chaired by the governor of Nairobi, and also the vice chair of the steering committee, but also this time chairing the implementing committee. Principal secretaries, almost 8 of them, are to sit in that committee. Also, a representative from the executive office of the president is to sit. The CECs, corresponding functions from Nairobi County, not stated in the agreement, but they are supposed to be joining the implementing committee. You also have the Solicitor General and the county solicitor also sitting in that committee. So we're asking the question, is this cooperation or is it control? I begin with you, Diana Gishengo, on your views about this arrangement to make Nairobi great again.
Nairobi City County Cooperation?
Yes.
Agreement oversighted by a bloated executive body of the Nairobi City County Executive and the National Government Executive, okay, announced primarily to confuse us about an 80 billion shillings that will have no clear direction or outline of who will be responsible for the 80 billion. Use of language that runs away from the Constitution because there is mutual cooperation in undertaking respective function. If any government takes over functions of the other government, that must go back to the representative. The legislature must debate and agree who takes over that function, define it. So in this case, my reading just by the language of the, you know how they held the pen during the signing, Nairobi is surrendering the powers to the national government. It's for what? Garbage.
There are different functions, including refuse collection and management.
Okay. I hear it's called there's a nice name for refuse collection. Circular economy, okay. For the circular economy. But the posture is that Nairobi was handing over those functions to the national government. There is even in there a language of, the benevolent national government is going to give you 80 billion Nairobi. From where? It is not there in the budget 2025-2026. Right. It's not there in the supplementary appropriation. In the county supplementary appropriation, it is not there. It is not there in the budget policy statement that was signed off by cabinet and transmitted to parliament. So where is this money? Could Nairobi have benefited from individual philanthropy?
What do you mean with that?
In that case, has it been recorded as a grant To which level of government? I think my reading of the cooperation agreement is a backdoor process of one, usurping the functions of a county government, and secondly, running away from accountability. When I read the agreement, I think it's very similar to what we have seen in, say, the National Infrastructure Fund. This leadership announces grand things, very, very grand things, and then continues to write them down in the vaguest of terms. So that half the time, you know, like I know people have gone to court. As TISA, we are yet to move to court because it is so confusing. What is this? A cooperation agreement ought to be very clear. It would be, look, Nairobi is struggling with their law enforcement officials in collecting rates. The national government has strength in enforcement and they are learning from KRA. That's the function that we are cooperating around. This is so vague, voluminous, and one day the governor of Nairobi says, the last time there was something similar in 2020, Nairobi City County was left with pending bill. So it does not even come with any inspiration. But a week later, we sign off a cooperation agreement. I think this goes to the heart of undermining devolution that the Kenya Kwanza government has been doing over and over again. They've taken over construction of aggregation center. Trade at that level is a county function. Market is a county function. Look at health and how it was treated for a very, very long time, including the fact that we are still struggling with what happens to the health workers who are on contract. Community health promoters. What business does government have with people who man health within a village? Mm-hmm. Surely that is something that must remain with the county government. But what is happening in Nairobi needs to be stopped. I am hoping that the County Assembly of Nairobi and the Senate will stand up and defend devolution. And in the meantime, for those who are in court, those who've gotten more clarity than us, they'll guide us in dismantling the unconstitutionality and the illegality.
Dismantling is your choice of word. But you see now, the County Assembly just last week, I think it was on Friday, they passed an ad hoc committee to go ahead and steer the process of public participation. Should they have been involved earlier than this?
Yes. The design of our constitution, and when it comes to devolved function, this should have first gone, even before it's signed. The proposal should have been discussed and tabled by the Nairobi City County Executive to the Nairobi City County Assembly. That should have been the starting point. Mm-hmm. But you know, in this country, we start by making the mistake, then we clean it up. Mm-hmm. And the minute we allowed them with the housing levy, now that is all they do. We govern by confusion. We govern through confusion and by confusion.
Right.
And immediately after the Nairobi City County agrees, there ought to have been a similar discussion with Parliament to agree that we are taking over this. Mm-hmm. Then at that point, now we can see the nice function with clear demarcation. Right. You get? It's very similar to what? This difficult, divestiture.
Mm-hmm. Divestiture.
Divestiture of, it was faster, announced. Mm-hmm. We have an agreement. You know, traditional dancers came, danced. People asked questions, then a whole public participation happened. We are waiting for the outcome. But an outcome had been announced before. before even the process commenced. I think that is not meaningful public participation. That is not meaningful processes of accountability and transparency, or even invoking the legislative organ. It is patchwork. It is patchwork, and we must stop governing this country through patchwork. If the current leader of the Nairobi city government is not able to lead, the county assembly should check, censure him. If not, then the honorable thing is to leave, not to undermine devolution by surrendering through a cooperation agreement. I'll
come back to you for more, because I think there's some few more issues to explore there. But Sheila, what are your thoughts when it comes to this cooperation agreement? And there are people who've argued that indeed Nairobi is the capital city, so it needs to be managed differently from counties. There's a question of resources. Is this the solution?
I think I'm starting off from a very positive side. The positive side is that something needed to be done. Yep. Something absolutely needed to be done in this city. I mean, it was running haywire, and it was really running, and every time they kept saying, we're going to Singapore, I'm like, but have you seen Nairobi? When do you want to get to Singapore? Singapore is just like a city. Now, if you can't even figure out how to make Nairobi, great, how are you going to do it for the rest of Kenya? So I think we can all agree, as people who live in Nairobi, that Nairobi was in complete chaos and complete shams. So something needed to be done. And there's nothing wrong with the national government and the county saying, hey, let's cooperate. I think the issue is it's in the how it's done. And I don't know why Governor Sakaja is kidding himself, but he has essentially said, nimeshindwa is what this agreement to me calls. It is essentially saying that, and I think President Ruto was very cunning in the way he was trying to just tell him, listen, you did a good job, it's time for us to step in now. But the whole time he keeps saying, it is not an MS, it is not, it is. I mean, you're basically giving yourself a vote of no confidence, and in the way that it has been done. So yes, on the positive side, good thing, Kenyans need to be saved. Now, let's also look at the spirit of devolution and what the Constitution says. The Constitution says that it is okay to seek cooperation with national government. We see that there's an investment that is supposed to be made, which is 4 times their budget, right? So they're going to get 80 billion. Today, they collect about, 20 billion on source revenue, right? And then
that's the target, but the ultimate collection is about between 13 and 14 billion, what's reported by the Control of Budget. So
and the World Bank...
About 60% performance.
60%?
Yeah.
And there's projection by the World Bank that says they need to be collecting over 50, right? Yeah. So they're far behind, right? And don't get us started on the issues of Nairobi. There's water rationing, there's garbage collection. Planning needs to be done. The amount of buildings that are falling down in South Sea and killing people, if it's not Nairobi River and the way Nairobi River looks like. So, I mean, for Governor Sakaja, I think for me, it looks like everybody has agreed that it is not working and something needs to be done. And I think people like Babu, are having a field day in trying to say that, the governor couldn't deliver. Now, in terms of the how, because I say the problematic is in the how, we can all agree that there is an issue, but how do we then resolve it? You have Nairobi, which has about 17 constituencies. You have, I think it's 85 wards. Yeah. Right? So you come into the... Yes. Yeah, 85 wards. So you come into the agreement and then you say, let's have public participation. I don't know if we should be redefining what public participation is. But public participation is not supposed to be an after effect. It's supposed to ask people, we are looking into doing it this way. What do you think? It's not after the fact, right? Because what is going on now is that, you want to have, 14 days, I think?
Yes,
to go through 85 wards. Yeah. And you have over 7 million inhabitants in Nairobi just even during the day. And how are you going to...
And do you limit the public participation to just Nairobi?
That's a good question.
Because there's a question of national resources being utilized.
Yes.
Because of the budget. Because we're all contributing and paying for this.
Yes.
Which I don't know where the money is coming from, by the way, the 80 billion, because it's not part of the budget process. Maybe there's a philanthropist. Maybe Dangote showed up and gave us some money. But you see what I'm saying? And this needs to be done within 14 days after the fact that it has been signed. I think the governor also needs to just come to terms with it, because 2/3 of the steering committee is actually national national government. So it's quite clear that he's losing complete control of this. You have issues that we had with NMS with pending bills. There's many ways that they could have been used to try and help Governor Sakaja. You know, how about saying, let's use the 80 billion to clear the pending bills, which are over 150 billion anyway. So I think what ideally should have happened was the National Assembly, the County Assembly, sorry, would have said, listen, we are giving you a vote of no confidence because you're not performing. That is what the spirit of the Constitution says. Right. And then post that point, then we can say, okay, then what do we do about it now that you've agreed that you can't work on it? And this is the same governor that was seen in the county, actually, who was saying, no, I'm not giving this up, right?
Yeah, I got this.
I got this. Like, I'm running Nairobi just fine. And then 1 week later, he's like, but it is not NMS, as he's signing an agreement where 2/3 of the committee has nothing to do with Nairobi County, right? So, yeah, I think, Sam, we have so many issues within Nairobi. There was the school feeding program, remember? The dish in a county, which was in partnership with the French government. That is still a whole scandal in itself waiting to happen. There's the garbage trucks. There's so much that you can talk about when it comes to Nairobi. And I hope we go back to planning Nairobi better, working on the healthcare services, working on water rationing, and so many other issues that we have within Nairobi. But yeah, I hate to say it, but Governor Sakaja, I think he's given himself a vote of no confidence, basically. He was signing the pen as everyone was looking at him and saying, I hope he gets over the denial stage of this process, then he can at least, work on figuring out how we work this out. But there was need to bring some sanity back to Nairobi. So something needed.
I don't know why you say that, because I presume Governor Sakaja will be seeking a second term.
I don't know if he was aware while he was signing this off. We all felt a sigh of relief, like we need to be saved from this. I mean, if you look at certain areas within Nairobi, even the planning itself, the buildings going on, the roads going on. I mean, the lawlessness going on with city planning was just out of control, and it's insecurity as well. So we are saying we're going to Singapore, and we cannot even figure it out to get to half of what Singapore is supposed to be. So the national government also has a lot of questions to answer, especially about the money. Where is it coming from, Sam?
At least we have Gisonga Mokunje, who sits in the National Assembly here. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
The answers are here.
Yeah, so this is the house that has the power of the purse, the ones who share resources. We're talking about the County of Nairobi and the cooperation agreement that was signed the other week by the national government and the county government of Nairobi. And so a few issues are coming up. First of all, is it a control or is it cooperation? And when you have a steering committee that is national government heavy, does the steering committee come to control just the 80 billion shillings President Ruto is talking about, or do they have a say on the budget of over 40 billion shillings that Governor Sakaja has been drawing the past few years? I mean, how does this work?
Okay, thank you first, Sam, for having me, and it's always good to catch up. And good morning, everyone, especially my people from Embu. And coming to your question, Sam, well, I followed the happenings on matters to do with the Nairobi County takeover, but Sam, you need to realize...
You call it takeover?
It's takeover, yes. It's definitely a takeover.
Okay.
And Sam, Nairobi is a capital city. But as of right now, Nairobi is in big problems, especially with the current governor, Sakaja, who was the former chair of Kenya Young Parliamentarians. And I'm the current chair. And he has really disappointed many young people, especially with that action. Nairobi has potential to collect even over 60 billion Kenya shilling sum per year. Collection of 12 billion in Nairobi means that there's a lot of corruption going on. There's a lot of holes in the revenue collection. And I believe the president saw an advantage and took advantage of it. The issues to do with what the president is prescribing are normal things that the county of Nairobi should have a clear plan on. And it is actually not, there is no need whatsoever to say we have signed a collaboration with the national government, because county governments all over the country must work closely with the national government. I wonder how many governors would like to sign a collaboration agreement with the president. Almost all of them. Because when we pass budgets in the National Assembly and give the share to the county governments, it is normally a collaboration. Normally, counties were supposed to actually work to ensure they empower themselves and collect enough revenue. But what we have seen is many counties have actually relaxed on revenue collection. It is mostly perceived to be actually the petty cash for governor on what county governments are collecting.
Their own source revenue? It's
a shock, yes, their own source revenue. Many of these counties that were very optimistic on their digitization of their revenue collection, they now look at what they want as a share in the national government cake. And they don't work to ensure they collect enough. And maybe let's, we will not talk much about the agreement. Let's wait and see the fruits. And we will find a lot of chaos in the implementation of whatever is perceived to be a collaboration. And when Sakaja took over Nairobi, he was complaining a lot on pending bills. And today, as we are speaking, Sam, Nairobi County still remains the county with the most pending bills in the country today. It shows lack of seriousness when it comes to running our capital city. And of course, it is just 1 year to election, Sam. I wonder why the change of plans from the president. My thinking is when they have sat down, now Safaricom is gone, KPC is gone, there is also need now to get their hands into the runnings of Nairobi County. That is my thinking.
Okay.
And I don't think it should be encouraged, because devolution, as it were, is supposed to be fully protected. We need to ensure that we encourage and force devolution so that the people of various places in this country can receive development. I don't believe the collaboration in the capital is actually empowering devolution. I feel, and as you've said it very well, with the committee strongly having representation from the national government, it tells you that this is an undoing when it comes to the steps we have taken on devolution. And I feel it is not something that...
But if you look at the areas of collaboration, Mheshimiwa Mukunji, like they're saying that the parties shall collaborate in housing-related infrastructure and development needs of the capital city. Then planning and development of markets in order to promote orderly trade, support micro, small and medium enterprises, advance integrated urban development and facilitate the provision of dignified trading facilities. Do you think these are things that the county as currently constituted can actually achieve? Constituted to mean the executive leadership led by the governor, the county assembly and the organs that the city has?
As a matter of fact, Sam, I feel that it will be lack of seriousness if they are not able to achieve those things. You have spoken about the most important things that define a capital city: housing, markets. You know, these are things that define a capital city. And I believe that the only part the national government should have played is to ensure that they inject the resources to the county government through ensuring that the shared revenue is enough to do those things. And I wonder, we have a number of capital cities We have capital city in Eldoret. We have another capital city in Mombasa.
So you mean city?
I mean other cities.
Yes.
That also require the same infrastructures.
Yeah.
So why Nairobi? It is because Nairobi, there is a lot of revenue collection. That is the interest. When it comes to issues garbage, there should have been a very important plan brought about by the Sakaja administration on how to handle matters to do with garbage. These are not things that now...
And it's important to note that many residents secure private services for garbage collection. And also for water. But then you raise an important point on resources. You see, if the national government, through Parliament, allocates more resources for devolution, they'll be shared through a formula. There's no way Nairobi would actually get an increment of 80 billion shillings using the CRA formula.
Yes.
Is there an alternative route to allocating resources to the county without the national government clamoring for control over how those resources are presided over?
You see, as I've said Nairobi in itself has potential to collect over 60 billion Kenya shillings. And actually, the first thing we need to ask ourselves is where are these resources going? And where is the own source revenue going in Nairobi? The corruption has become an integral part of this city. The cartels, as they call them, have taken over the city, from garbage collection to even issues to do with parking. And I believe that with 60 billion own source revenue, then you add what is being given by the national government, Nairobi County could be actually doing better. We could even have serious infrastructure in terms of transport around Nairobi. That's my thinking. Okay. But well, we have only one budget to go. And now the county government of Nairobi is in State House. So let's wait and see what will happen. It's just 1 year.
Surely the seat of power in Nairobi County is at City Hall.
No,
I don't know when you moved.
Signed off. I mean, we have seen this before. We had NMS. We had NMS. We saw what happened. Many of the NMS pending bills today have never been paid.
Right.
So this is not something new.
So tell me, who is the oversight authority here? Is it you, the National Assembly?
And that is also a question you're asking.
Is it the County Assembly?
Actually now, I used to sit in the Committee of Housing and Public Works and Urban Planning. And we had a responsibility to oversight the NMS. But it was very difficult to oversight NMS.
Because?
Simply because they feel like they are a devolved function, even if they are getting resources from the national government. So we face the same issue moving forward, whereby now the oversight role has actually been numbed. And it's a question that we are going to ask in the National Assembly when these things are being debated on the floor.
All right.
Also, it's good to say that even as of right now, there are so many resources that come from national government to county governments, including resources from World Bank. And it is difficult to oversight those programs, the KISI program, the KUSI program. These programs are terribly audited because by the time you want to ask governor questions, because he's the one that is doing the procurement, he's the one that is paying the suppliers, all you have to do is submit the resources. And when you inquire more from the ministry or the MDAs, they don't have information on how the tendering process was done, why it was awarded to who, where is the documentation for this. And that is a very serious problem that we are bringing to the city of Nairobi.
All right. Now, I want to exit from the topic, but before I do so, Diana, here we are. There are many promises that have been given in the current administration, and they all run into billions, or a fraction of it, if you have to single out specific projects. How do you hold the president accountable in regards to this promise of 80 billion shillings for Nairobi?
You can't, because the president is not the one who appropriates budgets. You can't. The person who will eventually release that money, if it is ever released, because I don't know, the president declares very many things. Every day. No, not every, okay, let's say every week. Every week. Where I'm saying every day is because the last 2 weeks he really traveled. And every day there was a budget promise. Now, where a president gives a directive, it must be written down so that it is weighted by Treasury and they determine, is this supplementary appropriation or, unfortunately, is it going to be an Article 220? Is it 223? Yes. Yeah. What has been happening, as I gather, is when the president declares, the chief of staff, an unconstitutional position, is the one that writes to ministry. The president promised water, a dam, scholarship, a market. All those promises are documented by the...
Sorry, you mean chief of staff is unconstitutional?
It is an unconstitutional position. You have secretary to the cabinet.
But the president is allowed to hire officers.
It's the work given to the chief of staff. And that they keep writing circulars.
But he's also the head of public service.
Is he?
Yeah. A position that eventually was created by Parliament. I think in an act that was passed, was it 2024 or is it last year?
Okay, just wait for the determination. That position, the secretary to the cabinet ought to do all that, and the...
Communicate decisions of the cabinet?
Yes.
How about the decisions of the president?
The president is the head of cabinet, and they say they apply an all-of-government approach. So for coherence, that is the best way. Otherwise, we get confused. Like I have said, this is always around confusion. But it is worth noting, we think our only problem is money. So we've looked at Nairobi, and the only thing that has come that is slightly different is an expanded eye of the national executive in the committee and in the board. And just to note, the agreement automatically self-executes. With or without public participation, it comes to effect after 14 days. So, so we are wasting time with public participation. Maybe we should just wait, then we start oversight. You know, it is the audacity to draft such an agreement that way for 80 billion of national taxpayers' money and assume that it can self-execute. It is, and based on that, counties have, we've not finalized the transfer and unbundling of functions. The national government still holds probably up to 150 billion. Is it going to be dished out this way? Turkana, cooperation agreement, you will get 8 billion. Kisumu, you will get this way. Are we operating through declaration and proclamations? Why? When that happens, the fiscal deficit the deficit in our budget is just going to grow. And my understanding is why the president is this confident in making all these financial declarations is because we have renegotiated our debt and pushed it forward to 2028 all the way to 2032. Right now, we're in the market so that the bond of 2028, 2032 goes away and is handed over. During this period, we can borrow and take away functions of everyone. do everything we can. When I read the Nairobi City County agreement with the national government, it has infrastructure. And I keep telling you, there's a national infrastructure bill.
Yes.
In the National Assembly. A very vague law. A very vague law where we will have a board appointed by cabinet. Parliament has no voice. That just does infrastructure.
You're talking about the National Infrastructure Fund bill?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It has a board appointed by a cabinet secretary. Parliament has no role. What infrastructure they build is not clear. They say no, including, not limited to, railway, hospitals, roads. On what basis? So the 80 billion could even be kickstarted and handed over to the National Infrastructure Fund. When that happens, right now we have an idea that, do we have an idea? The 80 billion, it could go to trade, it could go to housing, it could go to social protection, it could go to anything. Who do we hold account? Anyone. Holding to account anyone means holding to account nobody. I don't know why the National Assembly, and you people have the Parliamentary Budget Office, very skilled people. You're not aggregating the net effect of somebody deciding to dismantle the national planning document. A document that is supposed to guide us into posterity, into discipline, by dismantling it every day and using it as a campaign tool. At least yesterday, Sam, you questioned people about the president committing on things that are not even in his manifesto. Everything seems to be recreated on the go. That needs to stop. If the president needs to change anything, let him put it in writing, let it go to the National Assembly. And this is a good opportunity because the BPS is underway. And this BPS, it was supposed to be zero-based budgeting, so this was a good time. There should have been a notice board where all of us agree what are our budget priorities. But that is not what is happening. I think the president just doesn't respect the Constitution, and that is why he respects his own word more than the Constitution.
It is also important to note that the 80 billion shillings you're referring to, they are nowhere in the agreement. You notice that?
Yes.
There's no schedule to show that this is the agreement on resources and what areas it will go to.
Yeah.
It came from me. I saw it on a post on Facebook from the president's page to say how the resources will be shared. So again, that raises questions about the accountability. I'm also reading Article 94 of the Constitution. Sub-Article 5 says that no person or body other than Parliament has the power to make provision having the force of law in Kenya except under authority conferred by this Constitution or by legislation. And of course, you can read that article.
Let me chip in there, Sam.
Yes, as you exit this conversation, Sheila, and get
because we are the budget-making house.
Yep.
The National Assembly has been mandated to be the national budget-making house. But Sam, to be very honest, it looks like many of the things that the president wants to do, he doesn't want them to pass through the normal budget-making process.
Yeah.
And this one, I'm bringing a perspective of even what we are doing in terms of serious infrastructure projects.
Yeah.
And this includes also the fact that even when we are doing the finance bill, issue of securitization is never captured in such serious finance decisions. And the Parliament has basically thrown out its role of ensuring that it controls the borrowing of the nation. It has thrown out its role when it comes to how the monies and resources are supposed to be used. When you pass and say that you have securitized fuel levy, and it was not captured in our budget, it gives you petty cash. It's your petty cash. You can do whatever you want to do with it. And now also, it is now getting to even the county governments, because we are yet to know how we are going to accommodate the county government of Nairobi on the budget. We have not seen anything coming in concrete that is going to tell us now we are going to have this arrangement, this committee led by Musalia Mudavadi, and this is where they're going to get their resources. I mean, we have completely negated our duty as National Assembly. And, you know, some people are coming here and they're being thrown out of Parliament, which is very unfortunate, because I don't believe the Speaker was right in his throwing out of Kibagendi. Kibagendi expressed his thoughts as any Kenyan can, and that should not be discouraged at all. If you can't get your time on the floor of the House, you must get your time wherever you get them, even if it is through Sam Gituku. and while we are really looking at how the president has been shredding the Constitution, wisely and brilliantly, he is trying to make whatever budget is passed in Parliament to be a lame budget of maybe what I would call the current budget. And then the rest of the things, he wants to run them from State House without any questions asked. And you have seen the numbness and ignorance that the National Assembly and even EACC has gotten when it comes to serious issues that are raised by the Auditor General of this nation. I mean, every day you read the Auditor General report, you'll find something serious, from 11 billion raised on SHA, on issues to do with the ballooned stadium, Talanta Stadium, and these things, you hear them and they end there. And that is the nation that we don't want to live in, Sam. And maybe now you add that to the fact that now you can't speak outside here for the fear of being thrown out of the National Assembly. I believe this nation, we are not going in the right direction when it comes to oversight, and making sure that things, our resources are actually well handled.
Don't worry, you're protected at least up to the end of this show.
Whatever happens afterwards.
After that, we have no control over it.
People of Manyata take over.
Anything that can happen. And I believe I spoke my mind. There is nobody who can put me down.
Okay, all right. Now, I want us to exit. Sheila, your final thoughts on the question of Nairobi and where we're headed, especially looking at the law versus practice.
I think, one, Governor Sakaja should not kid himself. He has signed off his vote of no confidence, and the people of Nairobi are watching that. Second is that we should anchor a lot of this, especially the concept of accountability. Let's safeguard the spirit of the Constitution. There's a reason why the Constitution was designed that way, and if we would like to change the Constitution, then there's means of changing the Constitution and setting up a permanent solution if we see that Nairobi is a problem. But it cannot... you know, it's problematic to want 2 weeks to go through 85 wards and 17 constituencies doing post-agreement, what is it called? Public participation. But something needs to be done with Nairobi, and the Nairobi County Assembly should have been the ones to flag it off and say that you know, the governor is not doing his job, and then what we are supposed to do about that. But no, I think Kenyans as well, in the parliament coming up in 2027, 2027, please elect members of parliament who enjoy oversight. It's a core mandate of the job description.
True.
Please elect members of parliament who actually enjoy oversight and enjoy legislature and trying to guard the constitution, because what you're seeing now is also a reflection of our choices of people who don't even understand what oversight looks like. And there's been cases, and I'm sure there's a member here, of people who don't even read through the bills of what is going on. They are told, sisi kama watu wa X, this one we are saying yes, this one we are saying no, and then they do it. I mean, so Kenyans, these are a reflection of our choices. We are going to choose better in 2027.
Well, I like the hope. And Shege Mora is the member of parliament, sorry, the member of county assembly. Oh, what is it?
I'm smiling.
No, it's a partnership agreement. If they are oversighting national government money as MCA, they could well be MPs.
Okay. MC of Ngara, Shege Mora, is watching the show. Please, can I just read the message?
Yes, Sam. Yes, Sam.
Who oversights the governor.
Yes.
Yeah. He says that public participation shall be done on Thursday, 26th of February, across all the 17 sub-counties in Nairobi. Nairobi is in dire need of support because of the weight it carries as the capital city of Kenya. And then he shares the schedule of the public participation this Thursday. It's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's a whopping 4 hours. So there'll be venues, Charter Hall, what is this? City Hall is at Charter Hall, Ruaraka is Mathare North Social Hall, Embakasi North, Dandora Phase 1 Social Hall, Westlands will be at City Park, Embakasi South will be at Mukuru Health Center, Imara Daima, Kamukunji will be at Eastleigh North Social Hall, Makadara will be at Jericho Social Hall, Embakasi East will be at Embakasi Social Hall, Madare Undugu Social Hall, Embakasi Central, Kayole 2 Social Hall, Dagoretti North will be at Dagoretti Muslim Primary, Kasarani will be at Kasarani Health Center, Embakasi West will be at Umoja 1 Grounds, Dagoretti South will be at Waithaka Social Hall, Langata will be at Karen Social Hall, Kibra at Joseph Kangethe Social Hall, Starehe at Karioko Social Hall, and Resambu will be at Kahawa West Market, 9 to 1 p.m. So please make a date and go express yourself about this agreement. And of course, he also says that the law on urban, what is that law called? Urban Areas and Cities Act, Section 6, subsection 5 and 6 allows for cooperation when it comes to matters of the capital city of Kenya. But nothing is bigger than the Constitution. Let's take a look at some other stories, or rather, first, the feedback that has come to us from the viewers and what they are saying. And at Citizen TV, Kenyatamgi took the hashtag Citizen Daybreak. Frank Orinde, national government cooperation is beginning to feel like control. Devolution envisioned independent but interdependent governments, not counties operating under central direction. Under the arrangements, autonomy fades, making devolution cosmetic in Nairobi. Samuel Owoth, you're saying the concerted partnership between the national government and the county government of Nairobi will transform our capital into a more expansive, efficient and exemplary urban center, bigger in ambition and better in every measure of progress. Bobo Tieno, you're saying there's nothing like cooperation, but the national government has taken over total control of Nairobi County because it was done in a hurriedly or in a hurry before doing public participation as stipulated in the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Then you, Engineer Lazaro, influx of hawkers everywhere and mugging right inside the CBD call for quick intervention from the national government. Otherwise, backdoor cooperation agreements could be a political gimmick to sanitize some officers from assembly queries. Kiteki Michael, the cooperation agreement between Nairobi County and the national government is not constitutional. If the president feels it is good, he can create the Ministry of Devolution to be a bridge linking all counties and the national government. Well, there's actually a devolution department, and who is the CS? Is it PCS? PCS Mudavadi? Is it? Maybe.
Maybe.
Or maybe under the deputy president.
Is that under the deputy president?
We'll find out.
It's very similar.
And advice. But at the same time, you realize that the structure of devolution, the county government is supposed to have a maximum of 10 CECs. Some counties have less. If you look at the steering committee, it's over 10 people. majority from the national government. The implementing committee has over 10 people. I presume the numbers were for a reason. Let's take a look at what else has been happening in the political spaces. And we were talking about the shameless CSs earlier, but also the activities we've seen in the political circles. We'll be listening to some of the voices of what has been transpiring, whether it's from the opposition in Kisii, or it's what the ODM party has been doing, demanding that they should get the slot of deputy president when it comes to their partnership with the UDA. But Gitonga, what's going on in these political spaces? Yeah. The election is in